So if you've been on the Catholic side of the internet at basically any point over the past decade or so, you've heard of Trent Horn. He's arguably the face of Catholic answers, and certainly one of the most prominent Catholic apologists. Unfortunately, whenever he opens his mouth about anything that isn't Catholic apologetics, he turns into the world's most productive coal mine.
No, 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 no.
But this isn't meant to be a Trent Horn takedown video. I bring him up because I think he makes an excellent cautionary tale on how we should deal with our wives as Catholic men, and why being too nice to your wife or giving her even a moderate amount of freedom is just about the worst thing that you can do for your marriage. Trent Horn has gained a reputation in recent years, and particularly among Fuentes' groypers, for being a beta male, and in my opinion, they're right. Trent does not strike me as a high tea guy, and his constant backtracking, watering down the controversial positions, and attacking anyone who is trying to combat the rampant feminization of the church do not do him any favors. There's been a clip going around from Pints with Aquinas where Trent Horn's wife explains how she started to fall in love with the man she was working with and had to distance herself from him. Now, assuming that she's telling the truth about how far this little stunt went, which I have my doubts, but also I have no evidence that she's lying, I do commend her for realizing that this was leading in the wrong direction and righting the ship. But I think this exposes how being a beta male like Trent Horn causes your wife to lose all respect and love for you. I could not imagine allowing my wife to talk about this to anyone, much less on a massive podcast. If my wife ever did something like this to me, she would regret it. She would rue the day she thought doing something so idiotic and disgusting was acceptable. Any self-respecting husband would make sure that she was harshly disciplined for such an immense disrespect. And the fact that she feels like she can do this without issue is proof that she does not truly respect him. And when you listen to the clip in full, you can see why. This is why you keep your wife out of the workforce and off the internet. Don't believe the lie that men and women can just be friends. They can't. She says that her husband is, quote, not jealous. And that is not a good thing. Husbands are supposed to be incredibly jealous when it comes to their wives. You are supposed to be very possessive of her and to want her to have as little contact with other men as possible. This is normal and masculine, and it makes your wife like you more, not less. Trent Horn's reaction to finding out about her wife falling in love with another man is, I won't stop you, but don't do anything that you wouldn't be comfortable with me doing with another woman. I don't want to insult Mr. Horn too much, but this is such an effeminate pussy attitude. And it's no wonder she doesn't respect him. In the clip, she jokes about burning down the home of any woman that got as close to her husband as this man got to her. She is the one who is displaying the masculine reaction in this situation. She is the one who is acting the way her husband should act. And she exposes all of this on a podcast that millions of people listen to. No wife of any self-respecting husband would ever dream of disrespecting him so, because she knows that he would make her suffer for it, and rightly so. This only happens because he doesn't fear dishonoring or disappointing him, because he doesn't make himself worth fearing. Wives need to fear their husbands to an extent in order to maintain a healthy marriage. Marriage is a representation of the covenant between God and the church, and scripture says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Husbands need to establish a relationship in which the wife has that fear of the Lord in her, that makes her think twice about saying or doing anything to disappoint or dishonor him. And women crave that fear. That's why nice guys finish last, because women don't want men who are nice to them all the time. They want the sense of a little bit of danger, of strength and power that guys like Trent Horn can't provide. If Trent made himself worth fearing in his wife's eyes, she would respect him enough to where her eyes wouldn't begin to wander like she admitted they have. She wouldn't need to find what he was lacking in someone else. If you truly love someone, you have to fear letting them down and disappointing them. You have to have that as a deterrent to ensure that you are always showing them due respect and not blabbing about sensitive matters to the public. Any pious follower of Christ should not want to sin, not because they don't want to go to confession or go to hell, but because by sinning we disappoint and hurt God, who we are supposed to love above all things. In the same way, wives need to act based on the principle of, will this honor my husband? And if she does something that wounds him, she has sinned against him. But if you regard your wife as an equal and fail to cultivate proper masculine characteristics, The fear of disappointing you will never truly take root in your wife's heart because she wanted to marry a man, not another woman. It's this sense of danger and fear when it is in its proper intensity that keeps her attracted to you, that keeps her submissive and eager to obey. And that obedience makes you feel more attracted to her in turn, thus strengthening the mutual love that is at the center of any good marriage. That is why you have to cultivate that sense of fear. Punish her when she disobeys or does something that is disrespectful. Don't go overboard, obviously. It shouldn't cause her any actual harm, physical or otherwise. But do make sure that there are genuine consequences for such things. If you never enforce your will or discipline her when she does wrong, she would no longer respect your rules because she knows you don't mean it. Laura Horn doesn't respect her husband because her husband hasn't made himself a man worth respecting. Trent Horn is very feminine and soft. He lacks a backbone in many things, and that lack of courage is deeply repulsive to the female psyche. Again, this isn't a Trent Horn is the worst ever video. I have my problems with a lot of his takes, but I think he's a decent person. I just thought that this was an excellent real life demonstration of why it's so important to assert your sovereign male authority in your relationships, and also why women should not be on social media in any capacity. But that's a video for another day. Let me know what you think down below. I've been right about everything, and remember to talk about your deeply private personal issues on the Like Buttons podcast.
いつで